There, 1930. Right, good evening everybody. Welcome to Hilton Parish Council meeting on the 3rd of July. So, first item on the agenda is to receive any apologies for absence and declarations of interest, and we have apologies for absence from Ian Stock and Rob Pollard. So they're over here this evening. Any declarations of interest?
I'm going to do one for 5.5, because of the proximity of where I live to said pitch. Along the queue.
Thank you very much.
No, okay, no.
Okay, all right. No other declarations? No, thank you. Then I will close the Parish Council meeting and open to the floor. Would you like any comments at this stage? Andy?
Yes, Peter. Read 4.5. Just a bit of input. Having run the village website for many years, in my mind, the technology is not particularly the important part about the website. It's having the people to put the information on it and dedicate to keeping it up to date. So I think you'll agree that the Parish Council website has been very out of date and stuff's left on there long after its due date. So I'm guessing in the previous point about working committees, somebody will be made appointed to be responsible for all website content and keeping it up to date. So I would just ask, please, that that's the important factor. How sexy and glitzy it looks is not really important. It's the info that's on there and that it's current, comprehensive and up to date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Margaret.
4.2. Have you appointed a member of the council to be on the HCB committee yet?
Yeah, that will be discussed when we come to that.
Oh, good. And 5.2, communication. I've ploughed my way through the Good Councillor's Guide, and if you look on pages 14, 22, 34 and 51, you will see some very relevant points that you might choose to take into account. And your committee, you committed in September 2015 to a trial period of publishing the drafts. The only draft that has ever appeared is the list on May 2016 of the members of the committees and working groups. No more drafts at all, except last
correct,
month.
actually, Margaret. I put draft minutes on every month.
We'll discuss
They're
that
not
when
there. They're not
we'll discuss
on the
that when we come to
website now.
5.2, thank you.
They're not on the website now. I've looked not half an hour ago. Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Ian?
I'm going to be a member of the public.
Yeah, fine.
Am I allowed to be too much of a cherry? I'm quite interested in the pavilion, actually, about what's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm quite interested to know about have you had pre-application discussion with the planning department, what does the business case stay, how much might it cost, etc., etc. So I'm quite interested to see that information. I haven't looked on the website. I haven't looked for it either, but if somebody could help me, much appreciated. I'm just interested. I think the village is interested in what happens in the pavilion. So I'm not sure how much the village knows. But say I've not looked at the website. So it's just a request really for any information on the way forward. I think is the best description.
Okay, they'll be covered off in that point. There is some information. So you can now walk down.
Yeah.
Drive down. Or drive down and just open it. Sorry for the intermission. Just as we're coming to the council bit of your team, I believe. So Sharon is going to be outside with the go until she's collected. So we'll resume in the open session of the meeting. And Ian, right, councillor's report.
A couple of things. I think I've sent it to Joe. That's not really the best starting point. It's the change of the highways contract, which we have just set with Skanska. I have sent the press release to everybody, as I do occasionally. That's much more working with Skanska in a partnership relationship. The contract's for 10 years. it's about £34 million of contract. And I don't think you'll notice any difference. But give you a good example, when you apply for jointly funded, or whatever you want to do, often sometimes the design is done by somebody at the county council, and sometimes it's done by Skanska, sometimes it's done by a combination, etc. So what this actually is, instead of what I call having these magical divides in the middle of who's responsible, is it, then I think you find all that will go. Okay, so that's really, I don't think you'll see much change, I would hope, but time will tell. Should say there's quite a lot in management in terms of county council staff going out, or councils going out, etc. So it's a much more in partnership arrangement.
They can check it as they drive through the village.
Yeah, well the other one, maybe dear to your heart maybe, adults and children's services, we've appointed shared services with Peterborough. It is announced this week. I'm sure you've already seen it. We've done a lot of shared services already with Peterborough, Chief Executive, Director of Public Health, for all joint appointments. So we now have joint teams. So where you're contracting, for instance, for a particular service in a particular area, it'll be done jointly with Peterborough. So it's common sense. Again, it's all trying to, what I call, reduce down the management or the that level,
yeah.
Push down to this level, which is the lower level where we want to try to protect the service as much as we can.
Yes.
I don't think there's anybody here. No. Much more important actually is about planning. Huntingdon District Council have issued their consultation for 8 weeks. Today. It is quite crucial in policies which will be with you for about 20 years. So it is quite important that you look at the policies to see that they're fit for what you think is right. So I would suggest you need to respond to that if you feel it necessary. Yeah. The other thing to remind you is there is call for sites. Although in the plan it identifies where housing will go, from Huntingdon District Council perspective, it is still calling for sites. That means landowners, developers can and will put forward sites. So you might well think it's not going to affect us much. Do not fall into that trap. Because I remember a village that fell into that trap several years ago, not here, one of my other villages. So be wary that landowners and developers can come out of woodwork and suggest this is a site in this village or in this community and we can build X number on it. So although you don't figure in the allocation of sites in the plan, be wary, be conscious of what can happen down the line. So, and having said all that, I would much appreciate when you considered it to receive what you're saying. Okay, I'm saying that to all the villages. I'd like to know because it has some impact, because it's called a divide and rule approach.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did catch that in an email just before I came out, but I saw it may not have gone to everybody.
There's about five. There's five. They're very, very long.
Yeah.
And
that's the district plan to
2036.
Yeah.
It goes up to 2030, which is a long time. So the policies are quite detailed, but will affect all planning applications for the next 20 odd years. So you need to be aware of those planning applications. I have got a hard copy. Regretfully for you, I went to Henryford Abbott's earlier. guess who's got it? Because it is long, and I gave Henryford Abbott. They'll return it. So if you want me to pass it on to somebody when I've got it, I'm happy to give you the thick document. It's obviously easier to read than it is on the website because
it is. I was just trying to think when they said closing was.
That's a quick question.
Yeah, come on.
Is Hilton still designated as a small settlement?
Yes.
So, with the guidelines of infill only.
Yes, that's what the policies say, Kieran, but that does not stop
25th of August.
landowners and developers suggesting differently.
But presumably, if the local authority is sticking to the guidelines, they won't.
I would
support
suggest,
it.
if I was to give you a hint as to what you should say, might be that you support the policies as listed by the District Council, because that way you're rowing in behind them on their policies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's time, dare I say, to get in behind them, and therefore it gives you that added protection. You're agreeing with their policies, therefore you agree with the status of Hilton remaining as is, etc., etc. But there are some other policies in there which I think you need to be aware of. I went to the cabinet meeting of the District Council, and you'll see, if I, who would like it, by the way?
I don't mind taking it.
Okay, well, when I get it back from Bridget, I'll give it to you. But on the front, there are policies which I wrote down, which I think my villages need to look at. Bridget's looking at them at the moment. We also might like to actually have a little conversation with some of the other villages, like Hemmingford, Abbots, Bray. Penstanton's slightly different because Hemmingford, Penstanton identified sites. There are 3 sites in Hemmingford, in Penstanton. Derrycrest, the one opposite as well, and what is the nursery site, but the nursery site has virtually been developed anyway. Okay, and Vindies, that's in Penstanton, that is due for development as well. There will be implications for schools, because Penstanton and Hilton children go to Penstanton School, and there is discussion about what there might be in where the catchment area might be, because of those developments in Penstanton, not in Hilton, but in Penstanton, because when you top them up, there's 90 on one, 90 on the other, 35 on the other. The Vindies doesn't go to Penstanton catchment area school, it actually goes to Hemmingford Gray. And Hemmingford Gray have had a big extension a couple of years ago when the other development got built, so fingers crossed they should be okay in there, but it has implications of the knock-on effect for education in particular in school places, particularly not so much secondary because they're much bigger establishments, but much more in primary school as to where those developments are, and therefore they start to look about where the roll is falling, and in some schools of course the roll does go up and down like a yo-yo over 5 years. And a lot of children go over the hill, as you might say.
Yes.
And that roll of that school is falling. As against Penstanton and Hilton School, where it's going up. So there is discussion about whether they move some of the catchment areas around. It does not affect the secondary schools. Okay, it's in primary school level. Okay.
Thank you.
All it comes down to is that you need to look at the policies and what's coming forward, because you've got them for 20 years.
And that was release date with a closing date of consultation on the 25th of August.
Yeah. I'll get to Kieran when I put it back. But I would like to see what you're saying to try to make sure that everybody else is on the same hymn sheet.
Yeah, I think what we'll have to do is get that into the planning committee, and then we'll have to hold a meeting at the Parish Council late 3rd of August with our response. I think it will have to be an extraordinary meeting because we won't have another meeting before the 20th of August. And it's quite an important issue. So, thank you, Ian. Anything else?
No, anything you want to ask you if there was any?
No, we'll get on with that one. Any other public comments from the public? Thank you very much, and I shall close that session and we'll go back to the agenda. Approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on the 5th of June. We did have these. I wasn't here, Anne wasn't here, Sarah wasn't here.
Can I ask a question about them?
Yeah.
The piece that says the car park here, the policy is no long-term parking. Where I read the information Well, it all depends on how you interpret long-term parking. So I just have a concern that we can read these things in different ways. And whether it's me or somebody else reading the policies, we either need to be more explicit or a bit more relaxed in our application.
I wasn't at the meeting.
I think the agreed policy was true. It did say it's not intended for permanent parking, long-term
No,
parking.
well, long-term parking for me means I don't know, any vehicle
But also
sat there
it's
for days and
intended,
days and days and days and not moving.
it's also intended for people using the village. And that's what's involved. It's for people using the village facilities.
Well, I guess
And that
maybe
was-
is. So I don't want the
There's
debate again, but
using
for
and
me it's
abusing.
not clear. It wasn't clear.
I think it was a vote that we took at the time, and we all,
Could I propose that we put that on the agenda for the next
Policy
policy, just to
meeting,
review
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Just to make sure we're absolutely.
I'm happy with that.
Under matters arising from the minutes, or through the minutes, there's a proposal that further discussion regarding the car parking policies for the next agenda.
We have a
For the policy.
proposal
So, those people, Graham's here, Kieran's here, Sharon's here, William's here, okay, you've got four, you've got enough people. So, if you're happy to accept those minutes of the meeting, we can do them sometime.
vote acceptance.
No, Graham's proposing, Kieran's seconding, and those in favour of adopting them? Fine. Yeah.
moment.
And Helen and I can't vote.
Of course, yeah.
Because you're Thank
So
you.
we take it.
No, don't worry. If it's running ahead, just let me know, and we'll slow down and make sure that we get the comments in. Rush ahead to do it. Okay, so item 3 on the agenda is matters arising and carried forward from the last meeting, A14 current issues. There was a set of emails that had come through with regards to a footpath just outside the village, and Joe is working with Highways to resolve that. Yeah, make sure the footpath is still fit for purpose. And they have apologised, haven't they, and agreed that the trench and uneven surface is getting levelled out.
Which footpath?
It's a footpath out the back, I think. Well, it must be out that way,
Yes.
towards the construction site.
Is it B11, B11?
Yeah.
Then what's wrong? It's overgrown. It's just.
No, there was a trench and an uneven
Yeah.
surface. The trench was filled with mud. And the crossing wasn't being marshalled. So Highways are trying to sort that out. And Joe is in liaison with the Parishioner and with Highways, and will continue to see that through and get it sorted. And Joe also reported more vehicles using the village. And we see that the responses are very positive from Highways, but they try and get it sorted out. Any comment?
On that item or
That item.
Just
And
the
14
bus.
update any current issue.
Yeah, I wasn't sure whether you finished about that.
Yeah.
The bus is due, isn't it? In Penstown, 24th of July. At the clock tower from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So it might be worth us having a look there and seeing if it's worth inviting it. Because hopefully it has up-to-date information.
So when's that?
24th of July. It's quite a strange.
Stands in Clock Tower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Parking's an issue,
Yeah?
not surprisingly.
24th of
We
July.
can get chips out.
Huh?
We're going to get some chips.
So what is that? Is that the evening?
Yes, it's from 6. It's only 2 hours at 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
6 to 8.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what day it is.
Then is there going to be a notice of that?
There's a notice.
There is already something.
There's a notice in section.
Yeah.
I don't know whether there's one or not. website, or there's one. There's this one. Sorry, there.
Wanted to mention that date was a Monday.
I was thinking it's more important if you said look at it, see whether
Yes.
it's worth inviting it here.
Yes.
If it's not particularly up to date or relevant, then they don't mind inviting it.
Thank you, Graham.
That's right.
That is, of course, fitting out one of these is fitting out of one.
Yes.
Go at 6.
Yes.
Back by
Get
half.
back in
Get
by
some chips.
7.
Get some chips.
Yeah.
Love the chips.
Look at the Duchess.
Anybody, any other comments regarding A14?
When they shut the road on the 7th today,
No, third today.
Friday, I wonder if we should all be a little bit aware of how the traffic is going to be hacking through the village. I know Joe has made it very clear to them that Church End is very, very much there are no lorries, but they do come hacking through. And I wonder if Joe could perhaps just check with Jade, isn't it? That they definitely will make sure that the lorries aren't hacking through.
Yeah. And as we've always said, if you've got any sightings, registration and time and day, and she will pass that on to highways, because they have said they're not going to do it. We can only report the fact if they do. Got that? Okay, thank you. Right, we'll move on to item 4.1, green open spaces, updates including Gravy Way Pond and trees. Kieran, I guess you'll be
Okay. Start with the haycut. Haycut has come and gone. Probably the fastest I can remember it ever happening, so the weather was terrific for that. Nothing much to say on that other than the fact that we've had a really good clear up afterwards, so any extra hay was gathered up, several trailer loads, and taken over to Mullen Farm, so it won't go to waste. Mowing will carry on as normal from this point on. The tree that fell into the weir, that's been sorted, taken away, thanks to John and Duncan for doing that.
Did they get it out without having to go in?
No, they went in. It's a bit stagnant in there. The water's not been flowing because there's just not been too much water.
No, might have changed after the end of last week.
Maybe, yeah. So that's that done. There was a report from somebody trimming the hedges in the wilderness, which looks likely that was from somebody from Atterbury Farm. When questioned, they were said that it was to do with vehicles going down the path, and they wanted to clear it a bit. It was pointed out that it's nesting season still, technically. So just wanted registering. This is nothing to do with Parish Council.
Yes,
This was an independent doing this. Tree survey took place at the end of last month over 2 very long nights, I have to say. It took about 10 hours altogether to do it. Quite an undertaking. The written information will come out probably, well, it will definitely be in time for next Parish Council meeting. Take a view. It was quite extensive. We actually looked at every single tree, including all those that have been pointed out to be potentially dangerous on the way, on Gravy Way. So the list is long and extensive. So just be ready for when that comes in.
Thank you.
That's it for me. Yeah.
I've got something in other business, because it's not on the agenda item, and I'll mention it at that stage for you. Any comments on the
Open spaces, the fire hydrant outside my house is on the bench.
By the
I did it. It's still there, but it's falling. Just going over to it.
So there was one more item, which I said. The open spaces work group meeting on the 19th of July.
There is also, highlighting that this isn't like this business, but there is also some sort of hydrant down along the way, signpost on the side, I believe, or it was the last time I noticed it. So perhaps we could ask Joe to contact the relevant people about replacing that. Okay, all right, no comments, thank you very much. This is appendix item 4.2 is appendix A, which was the pre-updated committees and working groups. I think we discussed this last month, didn't we, when I wasn't here, and sorted out finality or finalising people on those groups. Are you all happy with what that is a true reflection of the things that you agreed last month? Good.
Just a big question, with the Village Volunteer Initiatives working group, we did say that would incorporate the parish plan stuff, so as long as that's understood, doesn't need to be anything else.
Was that something you agreed last month?
You said that maybe it will just go out.
It wasn't at the last meeting.
No.
But that's
an agenda item.
Okay.
So that we
Because we need to make sure that everybody's in agreement with that. And it's not an agenda item this evening. So we'll thank you for the next slide. So that is a proposal that initiatives working with.
so it's taking to take on parish plan.
No. That was really some time ago.
We'll just discuss that before. So apart from that, you're happy with the working groups?
That's it.
Thank you. That will get posted on the website.
Read them out.
That'll get posted. You discussed that and voted on it, so that's good. In fact, I would just propose that list is accepted as it is, apart from the one query around the parish based. Propose that as to be accepted.
So PC to accept. I will do. Okay.
All those in favour of that? Abstaining? Right. 6-1. Okay.
Okay.
Item 4.3 on the agenda is pavilion. So who would like to decide? So, Sharon, please do feedback.
So we had a meeting last week. We'd applied for the Sport England grant, which was going to be for the whole amount, but a very small proportion. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful, but when we spoke to our case advisor, he had actually put it forward for approval, so we were pretty gutted actually. So the only thing that he can think, and oddly they've changed the way, so Sport England are funded by the National Lottery, and it's to facilitate, increasing sport and community assets within local communities. So the only thing he could think was that it only had one changeman and therefore was not really encouraging away teams to come and play. So, which is, can be easily amended on the plans. So he was very helpful. Unfortunately, he's not on the panel that sits and listens to the applications. So the actual panel declined it. However, they had 1,143 applications. So this is a new grant that was only released in February. So they have been absolutely inundated, and they were about 350% over, subscribed. So his advice was to submit a new application with slight amendments on the drawings, and apply for planning permission, as it would give credibility to our application, and it will go a long way to secure the grant. So his recommendations were change the name to the Village Community Sports Pavilion, amend the change rooms to increase it to 2 separate facilities for the away team who are visiting to get changed. Gather backing from community groups and local sports clubs, saying how they would use the pavilion and how vital those facilities are. Then evidence the community support by means to the needs of the sporting community by letters of support that can be uploaded with the new application. And also, he said, approach the local MP and local district councillor to get support and backing. So he was sort of coming at it from the angle that the more local backing we've got, the better we stand a chance of getting funding. He didn't think the amount we were applying for was too much. He said, he thought the amount was going to be fine. So he was actually really surprised that it was declined. So we had a meeting to discuss the next step. So obviously the first thing to do is go for a planning application. We had quite a discussion and thought it might be better to do 2 separate planning applications, one for the renovation of the pavilion and then a second one for the extension of the storage area at the rear, to be submitted to HDC. But before that, we need to obviously do a design and access statement, probably a heritage statement, and arboreal, tree survey, historical statement, and just to really get some ideas of costings from 3 builders as well. So we thought we'd get a bit more of because Kieran's very kindly done drawings and rough estimates, but we really need to get some ballpark figures from 3 local builders. So we need to request tonight permission from the Parish Council to release funds for the planning application, and we will need to get the maps. Yeah.
We need to get some
You can
digital
apply for maps, yeah.
downloads.
Yeah.
So
They're about £20 each.
So we need 2 applications and a few extra expenses like that. We can cover us £500 should just
The feeling with the 2 applications was actually if they agree to the renovation of the pavilion itself, we can get cracking with that. However, if they turn the whole application down because it's got a small extension for storage, then we'll have to go for another full application. So we're currently working on all of that information. Kieran's kindly given us some examples of these statements that we need to get together. And then hopefully we also need to find out the history of the building for planning application and title search, which Anne's Zane's got some information, and we're also going to look at other planning applications that maybe the village hall have done, or other local community buildings that might have had to do similar applications to put forward, a sort of very good, robust planning application that hopefully might get accepted. So that will give us, an initial starting point for the grant. And then we did discuss sort of fundraising as well by way of donations, and how we could perhaps do that within the village if we needed to. and also involving the town trust. So we've arranged another meeting on the 18th of July, just to really pull together, because the planning application is quite a lot of work really. So
I'll just offer a thought, this may not be helpful, but given that we have a planning committee, it's maybe, I mean, you're obviously familiar with applications and stuff, but is there anything the planning committee can do?
Something else will come when you come back.
Yeah, that's true.
True.
Will item 5.5 scupper?
It won't help them.
No.
But that's hopefully just a, well, it's out of sync, but it's hopefully a 1 year blip.
Just,
yeah.
but in reply to Anne's thing, I think that the planning committee won't be able to help on the application because we reviewed what the planning committee had spoken about. The planning committee reviews applications received, doesn't submit. So we have somebody who's going to do that and has submitted a number of planning applications over the years, alterations.
Well, I think we need to get the documents together,
Yeah.
and then anybody, of course, can have sight of them, make suggestions.
And the plans for the proposal are on the website, as they have been for a year, roughly, now.
Yeah,
Okay.
over a year.
And any proposed alterations to those drawings will go up on the website.
The drawings that will go with the plan application will be done for the laws and how they're like and done, the scales and whatever. So that'd be the ones that are on the website at the moment are really just for interest.
So unless we get an idea that they will be approved, then our budget back against the war budget. So we do need to spend a little bit of money to find out whether it can be approved.
Sharon, what do we want us to call it? The village?
Community.
I think one of these actually, village community sports pavilion, he suggested. And he said the fact that we've already applied once, it won't go against us to reapply. And he said you've got a lot more chance of getting it this time because all those applications have gone through. They could only.
They invited you to hold back as it was a new grant, and then why didn't they when it was launched? You did, and then along with 1,300 others.
Other people do the same.
Yeah.
And but it was quite positive. I felt that he was really shocked that we were declined. He said he recommended it was approved. So and he's our case, reviewer. So
it's good to have an ally, isn't it? So
yeah. So he gave me lots of information as to what to put in the next application, which
Thank you.
we will be working on. So yeah. So we are trying to move things ahead, but without planning permission and the funding, it's not really. We can't really move ahead with any kind of
Well, we can
action.
get the application in.
Yeah.
There's a certain level of commitment to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we can submit for the award. It can take a number of months to get the approval.
Yeah.
Okay. So your proposal is that
Yeah, we have. We'd like to have 2 planning applications funded, plus the maps that are required to go with the planning application. It shouldn't come to more than £500 really, because each planning application is 172.
Well, that's a household.
I'll second that proposal.
It's just a couple of.
All those in favour? Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
Is there anything else? One big question. You mentioned back in community support and community in the wide sense.
Yeah.
From councillors or whatever. I just wondered if there's any plot to how that could be done. Could that be done in parallel?
I think it needs to be a planning commission first then.
All the information that's going to come out of this next stage, the various statements and drawings will all go on the website. Council will be brought up to date as things progress, meetings.
think one of the things as David Mitchison suggested was that we write to various local groups, and so local sports groups, football clubs, local organisations who are likely to use it to gain support.
Because they might have ideas to offer to the client.
Thank you. Moving on, item 4.4. Oh, sorry.
4.3.
4.3.
The electrical work's been done.
Oh, thank you, Graham.
As you'll see from the bill.
Yeah.
So that's the minimum spend's been done just to make it safe, which is obviously important with the piece we're going.
Thank you. Andy, you have your hand
Yeah,
up.
just a quick one in case it's not taken into consideration. Parish Council get 50% discount on all planning applications.
Thank you.
So half price.
Okay.
That's nice.
I'll help.
That's great. Okay.
Go on.
Well, just a suggestion, have you had pre-application discussions?
I don't believe so, Mr. Stitch.
No.
Before you start writing checks, I would suggest you do that because it's in the conservation area. And you can go along and have a bit of an informal, without prejudice, etc., etc. So,
Save some money from that.
well, you'll get an indication, I would think, look, you've had an indication about grants, you'll get an indication about what they might view. When you've got plans, that is, you've got proper plans and you say, well, we'd like to come along, we're a Parish Council, it's a village community, etc., etc. What do you think?
Thank you. No, that's good.
And
It's good. Both suggestions are good. Thank you.
the person you need to is the conservation. The conservation, it's in the conservation area.
So that
Past
means
experience
it's
tells me the conservation area will dictate a lot. It's not about necessarily the height or the size or anything. It's in the conservation area, and I know the conservation officer. They're quite focused.
Yes, I believe they are.
That's a polite way.
That's what I hear.
Yes, yes, I think I'm going to go there.
So, good, we'll take that forward, bearing in mind both those helpful suggestions. All done?
Yeah.
4.4, Village Hall. Have you got all that?
Yes.
Good. Money penny. Village Hall, Graham, did you want to?
Well, I had a look at it tonight. Obviously, there's a lot of good work gone on with that.
Oh, good.
Progress has been made.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like the alternative solution has been done, or it is being done, but it's not complete yet. So we've still got 3 weeks.
And I think the Village Hall have indicated to
Very
Graham
hopeful.
that it should be done in
Yes.
time for this
Yes.
week.
The fact is, it's not done at the moment,
Yeah.
but you can see what the solution is, or what they're doing as a solution.
Good.
So it's whether we need to sort of have something up our sleeve in case
So
it's
the-
sort of.
The thing on the agenda is discuss possible request to use the William toilet during Peace Week and have that.
Yes, which we haven't had that request, have we?
I don't.
Oh,
No, I think.
please we have requested, haven't they? Why, Joe?
If Joe was here, we could ask her.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she's discussed that with.
The last email I had was that they were the contract was hoped to be finished.
Right. I know Craig was hoping that that would be, but it would be quite nice if, given we don't have a meeting before July, that's it's on the agenda, we can say whether or not we'd be happy for future weeks using the meeting toilet in case of need.
If there's no money involved, then presumably there's no problem, is there? It's only, well, if we had to spend money, for instance, updating it or
Oh, right.
something.
There would have to be as it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So in that case, then that's, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy to do that.
Could only do that. And we would have to ask that, have somebody who's there to ensure that toilets weren't misused.
That's my concern. There's no internal door that you
No.
can lock, is there?
Well, we could look into it.
Yeah, we could
As
look
long as
into
they
it.
have the warning, we could.
Yeah. But we could have it available, we could agree that we would consider it being subject to.
As long as there's no cost involved.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
I think it would be useful if they just use the side entrance and just have it remain so that they just access the toilets, not go through the main.
We don't want people hanging out.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, especially if it jumps in people. So
Well, that's just one more to that.
I think they are going to have to increase security, so that may be helpful.
So I propose that should we get an approach from Fee Street, I'll discuss with them about the ability to use the pavilion toilet in case of need.
And monitored.
And monitored, it has to be monitored. The pavilion would have to be monitored. I don't want people in the pavilion that go and use the toilet.
So it's been, you're phrasing as if Fee Street approach asking to use the pavilion, then you phrase that, you say yes, subject to monitoring. That's
There's only one toilet. Two toilets in there?
There's two,
Yeah.
but they probably will be difficult to use both.
Yeah. There'll be names.
At the same time.
Oh, one of them, is one of them in the shower?
Yeah, it's one in the main area, and one in the main area.
Yeah.
Happy with that? Yeah. I'm proposing that.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Sharon. All in favour? Thank you very much. So I think that's the discussion on that item, agenda item. Item 4.5 is website update. Sorry, hang on. Money penny stone.
so you seconded that?
No.
Yeah. And all in favour. All in favour.
Nice.
Oh. Right.
So item 4.5 is website update. Do you want to do this or shall I do it?
I'll do it for now.
Yeah, go on.
Well, the website is laid out, all the menu structure has been done. We are loading data on at the moment. We were going to have a media work group review, but various things got in the way. So over the summer recess, we will endeavour to do that. Have the website not active but ready for sort of review in September.
Very good. Very good.
Anything to add to that?
No, that's it. That's all I have to say. Or all I ever said. That's brilliant. Thank you. Moving on, item 5. Number 5 on the agenda. Got that?
Yeah, that's good.
Item 5.1 is decision on goalposts and new netting following inspection and discussion by Green Open Space. Something you want to read on this?
We haven't met yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we defer that?
So, can I propose an alternative?
Go on.
Throw the curveball. Joe was...
If it's on the agenda.
This is on the agenda. Good. The current nets in the state, we have had the offer of purchase of new nets. Until we know how many goalposts are going up, it seems pointless in buying new nets. I propose that we take the net off the one that's installed and put it on one tablet, which will look a lot tighter. Because the one that's there at the moment is a net.
Very good.
The one that's installed should be better. So I'm happy to take that on to make it look better.
Thank you very
And
much.
throw it on this way, presumably, don't keep it. So next time I get the keys, we can just leave that off. But then you can come back and say how many you need.
Can I just ask if that's a postponement?
We haven't got back to this bit. Have we? There's a proposal to replace the net, and then the decision on goalposts and new netting will be discussed, I guess, as on the next agenda, following the meeting of the Green Open Spaces on the 19th. Your Green Open Spaces meeting on the 19th, but the decision on the new goalposts and the new netting will follow at the September meeting.
It's not a decision on new goalposts.
Right.
It's a decision on how many goalposts go up,
Right.
and when, and what the rotation policy is.
Lovely.
And then you've had the kind offer of 2 new nets, plus clips, if
It
need
is,
be.
the decision could be...
You could vote on the new nets.
Well, Ian starts.
Well, that's the whole point. If we only have one goalpost that ever goes up, it seems pointless buying 2 nets.
It's best to wait
That
for
was that
We make a
should
good
be
situation there. We've got spare, haven't we?
make it more.
What, £76?
Yeah. Oh, it's
Referring to
really
5.5, it could be that we do something different for a year. But let's not prejudge it in
No.
the right way.
But should we be encouraging sports in the village
Absolutely.
by and there are quite a lot of young
Closing football pitch up to allow the grass to grow.
women and as well. There are quite a few youngsters in the village who play football and quite serious football.
I think it would be a bit sad to actually put goalposts up in September if the open spaces agree that 2 goalposts can go up.
The issue is really just how you work it with the football. That's because they use their own goalposts, they have their own set dimension for the pitch.
Right.
And so that's the issue. It's not really a question of ideally you have 2 goalposts, but it's just whether we can make it work.
But if they're not around for a year, could we agree that we could have 2 goalposts as we aren't having another 2 goalposts for a year?
That's what I was definitely.
But instead of waiting until September, could we perhaps talk about it more now for the
Otherwise
sake
we're
of
going
the
to miss,
kids?
yes, we're
Skip
going to miss the
school
school
holidays.
holidays, aren't we?
So we go in summer anyway because the grass, as all good football pitches, you don't play football in the summer to allow the grass to grow.
I think we ought to talk about some
Any rec,
green
any
committee,
public
that's the
park,
procedure, isn't
any
it?
football.
But
And
then,
people can still play football, everyone's still kicking a ball and asking the rules.
It's always very nice to have a goal, but
No, there is, you know,
there is the way. So like, you wouldn't put goalposts up in the summer. Always a bane of kids' life, but in the summer the pitches are set to recover. So allow the grass to grow because it's ground season. So the grass, you go to any park, any rec, any football club, the pitches are closed. Whilst the grass recovers.
It's cricket ground as well.
yeah.
what made me play cricket?
That'd be nice. Anyway, we're going slightly off track, so the question is,
So we're deferring this until September when we've had a chance to move.
okay, we're not going to go ahead and...
Are we going to put the net that's in storage on it so
Yeah,
at least it
that's what
looks
the
Yeah.
council
better?
proposed. So we'll do that,
And we're not going to...
because you give them something in the
Yeah.
grass is growing.
But are you suggesting that we get the second net anyway?
Yeah. This proposal here from you, yeah, discuss the goal and clip on further contact Mark and Julian, told in the next £23 each, 2 times £46 plus clips 30, total £76. Doesn't matter if that is included, added on, because we'll get that. Posting package might be added, which would be possibly £10. Bottom line, the 3 of us agreed to spend of 2 nets and 1 set of clips up to a maximum of £125, making it, hope it makes all good sense. So they're being bought for us, aren't they? Yeah. So please, yeah, let's accept the offer. Yeah?
I think so, because even if you don't put the
Yeah.
second post
Yeah.
up, we've got them in storage, so we can put them up when the grass is recovered.
Yeah.
It's something that's
And
being
maybe-
offered to the
And
community.
eventually it'll be something
Let's-
to store it.
Let's
It's
take,
Bizarre.
let's take advantage of the offer to
Yeah.
get the nets,
Yeah.
and then any discussions around use of the goalposts and all that sort of thing.
Chairman, can I just explain the background to this?
I think we had the
Please.
background to it last
Well,
month.
not
which is-
quite, because we
Carry on
had
then.
this money in the park account,
Mhm.
and we were able to help the guide group, the whole group, with some money that they very much needed. And when Ian, Julian and I were discussing whether we could spend any more money or wait for a bit, we thought that it would be a good idea to suggest these nets for the boys, so that we've got a balance. We've got something we've given to the girls and something we've given to the boys. There is still other money which we're prepared to consider requests for if they're sensible. So that was the background, and that was why we suggested the goalposts, the nets.
And that's great, and I think we're going to accept that, aren't we? Yeah,
Yeah,
so I'm
I think that's
proposing we
great.
accept
Yeah.
that kind of offer for the nets.
So what's the total?
It doesn't matter.
125.
It doesn't matter, does it, what the total is, because it's a gift to the parish council.
Yeah, okay, that's
Yes.
not then.
It doesn't matter what
Yeah.
it costs, because we're not paying for it. It's a gift to the council,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
That's being paid for kindly from this park money. So I propose that we accept these 2 nets. Thank you very much. All, who would like to second that? Yeah. All those in favour? Thank you. And we'll get Joe to okay. And then there will be discussions regarding goalposts for jumpers. jumpers for and that can come back to the next meeting. Item 5.2. Is an email that you had circulated. It wasn't put on the last night's agenda because I wasn't here. And there's some points I'd like to clarify in that. We've had a short chance to read it, so I'll send it to you. Have you any comments before I start?
I'd just like to say that I'm very aware that we had these points made and requests made some time ago. And I know I brought it up at one point, but I can't remember when. And a lot of the points here chime with what the contributors to the parish planning meetings raised. So I have a lot of sympathy with what's in there. Not least because we're not exciting or appealing to people sufficiently. And there's a lot of good ideas here that might help us to do that and be seen to represent the community a bit better.
Right. So we've received an email and I will answer points to it as we go through. So we have received an email saying that there were some items raised at the annual parish meeting. These concerns were raised to us by following the meeting in 2015, and it was promised at the July meeting but was not included. In July 2015, the points raised following the annual parish meeting were discussed. The writer of the email was at the Parish Council meeting and did comment in the open section of the meeting, hoping that the comments would be discussed. Following that meeting, the Parish Council at that meeting, the Parish Council considered the points that were raised in that email and agreed that it would run a period of trial issue of draft minutes. It has been raised this evening that the draft minutes are no longer on the website. They are on the website. They are on every month. They get converted to approved minutes following the meetings. And I looked at the Parish Council website this evening and they are there. And they are there every month. So the suggestions were not ignored. They were addressed at the meeting in July 2015, debated, and the issue was that we would issue draft minutes. Those continue. What we possibly haven't done is formalise that we will continue to post those draft minutes. We ran it for a trial period. It was discussed at a later Parish Council about 6 months later when we agreed to continue it as a potential further trial period. So just for clarification, I will propose at this meeting that we agree that we will continue to post draft minutes of the meetings as a permanent feature.
There's not been any sort of problem with that, has there?
No.
Because it was done at the trial to see how it went. And it's been quite successful, isn't it?
Yes.
At that point we were still doing Spectrum, weren't we?
We still do Spectrum.
But we've done Spectrum first, haven't we? As a sort of a mini update, and then the draft minutes.
Yeah.
And we hadn't a problem. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you, Graham. All those in favour? Thank you. So that is that one. So they haven't been ignored, they've been addressed. When this council was first elected, councillors resolved to be inclusive as possible of residents in asking for support. We do, and we continue to do so. Working groups do take parishioners onto the working groups, and it is those parishioners that they feel they wish to work with and views they value. We were asked about the website, which we have decided over the last few months that we will update by way of launching a new website. This is being done so that the launch is proper, if that's a phrase that should be used at this moment in time, that we try to reduce the criticism that we get regarding existing website to make sure that it is up to date and can be more easily updated. We asked about a parish Facebook page, a PC Twitter account, and an email list of recipients for PC emails. We have requested people to Give us email addresses. I think we got 5. Parish Facebook account, PC Twitter account. Anybody interested in running such a thing? Fine. Thank you very much. Face-to-face open meetings must be 30 minutes before PC meetings. I believe this is practiced by Hemingford Grey Parish Council. This would allow residents to speak to councillors other than the closed shop inability to speak spontaneously on non-agenda items. Is this a legal requirement because other local councils allow questions and comments during parishioners' items? We allow questions and comments during parishioners' items on the agenda. If the PC meeting wasn't held on an agenda basis, we would not be able to provide factual information and input to the items that are discussed, leading to uninformed discussion. I don't know what they do in Hemingford Grey, that's fine. If parishioners wish to talk to parish councils, they're always welcome to come and talk to them after the meetings. I see no reason to change that. Happy? Okay.
I'm not.
Fine. Okay, and speak.
Going back to the point about being inclusive, if I've understood you correctly, what you're saying is it's only through being a member of a working group that parishioners are able to debate and discuss
they can
issues.
come and talk to us after the meetings, it's not a problem. We've never said
Right,
no.
and how is that then recorded and dealt with? Because
If it's an
we've
item,
also said in previous times that there will be no discussion, certainly between parish councillors, between meetings. So
it has to be
how
open discussion. So, if a parishioner comes to you with an item that you feel should be discussed, you send it to Joe.
so
and
there's
it
no
goes on the
discussion with the
agenda.
parishioner, it's just raised. Is that right?
You find out what the parishioner's comments are. You pass that on to Joe. It is put on the agenda at the next meeting where it is open. It is the subject to open discussion.
Or if it's specific to a work group activities, then make sure that people who are on that work group, it's all published, everybody knows who's who, doing what. That the point gets raised at the next meeting of the work group.
I guess my sense of the word inclusive is something that allows more of a flow between parties, and it may be through a discussion that something gets sorted and doesn't end up on the agenda. And I don't mean it's cooking the books, I just mean that it's something's clarified. It just seems to me a process that pushes away from inclusive. That's
I
certainly my
think it's a
feeling.
process that promotes open and transparent communication.
Well, if I give you a comparison, myself, Justo and Robert criticised, having criticised because of trying to get some ideas and views on the parish plan. We only had 30 people give some views and ideas. Now, if I compare that to any of our parish council meetings, we don't have 30 people turning up to talk about a very varied agenda, and we were looking at quite focused agenda. Now, in order for us to get that 30 people, we did a huge amount. We had leaflets, notices, every household was approached, we sent us emails, we replied to those. So we did a lot to stimulate interest. And in that sense, we were trying to be inclusive. And even that effort, we ended up with our 30, and I have to say, very rich and constructive comments from people, 30 people. But we're not, my sense of inclusive is that this current process isn't presenting itself as inclusive, and I think that's what this email is suggesting. It doesn't feel like it's actually
To counter that argument, I've done quite a lot of research into some of the comments that were made in this letter, because, as I say, if it's brought up as a non-agenda item, you can't answer it. There was stuff that was brought up at the parish meeting, which I was unable to answer. I can answer it this evening because I've been able to research it. Over the last 23 years,
you've said the comment you put against the word
33 years.
inclusive is because we co-opt people onto working groups, which is where I started my comment. If that is our sense of inclusive, I'm asking, is that wrong?
Can you give us an example of how you would like to see it?
Well, if we're saying that unless you've got to under a working group, and hence my comment, then that's the vehicle by which we can be inclusive. And I guess partly what I'm saying is using the example of one working group trying to get interested in the parish plan is, we actually went out and knocked on doors. We actually did a lot of leafleting. We shared a lot of information across those people who were interested in commenting. I don't see us doing stuff like that. And the vehicles, Facebook, Twitter, they're just mechanisms. They are vehicles by which you can communicate, but they're not the only ones. We can do a lot of simpler things than have to go just the technology route. But I would also say that you can't immediately, and I think we fell victim to this a little bit with the parish plan stuff, you can't immediately stimulate interest with something that takes time. And my sense, just talking to people informally around the village, is they don't feel they're going to be heard or listened to, but they don't bother. So it will take time to get people to develop an interest in what we do and what we deliver for them.
That's good, because the people I talk around the village say, unless it concerns me, I'm not interested. I'm not bothered. We elected you to take the lead in the parish council. We trust what you do. If it's something that's a personal matter, we will come.
I think maybe we could say on that, and it was a really good example, the A14.
Yeah, absolutely.
That mattered to the village.
And
And they turned up, and weren't they absolutely fantastic?
And what did we do? We flyed it, we posted
We did
it,
everything,
we put it,
yeah.
etc. And people were aware, and it was something
So-
that they were interested in, so they came.
so are we
So
saying
if only
that
30 people came to the parish, your meetings, but we got over 175 people to the A14, I think people don't actually hear that
That's
much.
a massive initiative. We're
Can I-
on parish council.
Sorry.
Can I just say that in
I mean, I understand
2000,
your
in the year
point,
2000,
fine,
if you
yeah.
go back through documents back to 1983, a constant recurring feature is attendance at parish council meetings and why don't people come. In 2000, in January 2000, a special meeting was held by the parish council to discuss the benefits that the electorate feel they get or don't get from the parish council. 2 people came, 2 parishioners. That's how interested people are. Okay? That we have been
But
put
we've got
in
counter
office.
view here, haven't we?
We have one counter view, yes.
No, you have more than that, because in the discussions of the parish plan, for those that did come, it was a commonly held point that we need more involvement with the parish council.
Then they should.
But we're not
Work.
here, Anne.
Information.
They're not
come and
here
talk to us.
tonight.
You send stuff. We don't get anything. We don't get anything out. If these people are upset, then communicate with us. Yes?
It's not about being upset.
If they don't
It's about
believe what we're doing,
wanting to be
communicate. If you're talking to these people, tell them to communicate with
Because
us.
once it's on the agenda,
Yeah.
parishioners are free to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the inclusive bit. It needs to
It
go
goes
in.
back to comments made at the annual parish meeting about the A14, that people were cynical that highways would do anything about it. Because why? Write to us, tell us, we'll contact highways and they will take action as we told
That's
them.
simply
And
saying that
can you
it's up to
see-
everybody else to take the initiative.
Can
not
you
us.
see any impediment for somebody who has an issue that's concerning them, that whether it's directly related to parish council business or not, can you see any impediment to stop them coming and talking to somebody, to contacting Joe,
Yeah.
choose the point of contact? If there was something that they were like this email, it's something that's come to parish council, it's been discussed. So Peter spent some time collecting some information to get some feel over the years what the trend has been and what the real need has been. I mean, can you see an impediment to that?
Well, I've tried to express it, but obviously failed. But I think that part of the impediment for me is, if you like, the history that sense of it's not relevant to me, I'm not interested, I don't know what they're doing. If we actually want to be inclusive, because if we use the word, then we need to put in effort to get people interested. That's really what I'm saying, and I'm not persuaded we do that.
How?
Okay, well, no, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
the answer.
okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving back to the email.
I think that's been cut off at the knees, don't you?
No, you may actually debate
Peter,
it further, but
Peter, I would just like to know
there are other points to
actually
discuss.
what tangibly, realistically, we can do within the scope of our busy lives and as a voluntary piece of local government, with lots of rules and regulations and how we can operate.
It's all right. It's only a talk about. We live in a village.
What can we actually realistically do?
Well, again, I'll give you an example of the parish plan that we put in, and we had open meetings where people were invited just to come and say whatever, no judgment, no agenda apart from a fairly tight scope, let's say, so limited scope, let's say. But that open meeting, all sorts of things were raised that we as a parish council could be picking up and doing something about.
So are you suggesting that we have those open meetings, open forum meetings reasonably
Periodically,
regularly?
yeah, why not?
Just all comers, any issue?
Yeah, you don't have to deal with all of it at the time. And it's the same, I'm not saying it's a forum that's bound to work every time, but we gathered lots of ideas, constructive comments from people, and if you try to make sense of it, codify it, and then say, well, what bits of this might be relevant to the parish council, many of them aren't, but if it stimulates interest in those people that want to do something themselves, or a group of them does, then great, that's good for the community.
One of the ideas that's discussed when we're looking at the pavilion, what we're actually going to use that building for, which doesn't conflict with Village Hall. And one of those ideas was, why don't we have it as a parish council office and have, some kind of presence there, surgery or whatever.
Nice idea, excellent idea. Thank you.
So that's,
that would be in line.
personally, I'd be quite in favour of that. But it's the first time I've actually heard a really specific idea of how you actually create this inclusive thing without it becoming incredibly onerous.
Yeah, no, I understand, and I know what it's like. What flooded the streets, which I don't mind doing. But actually, again, there are people in the village that would be happy to flood the streets for us if we need to do leaflets and stuff like that. So I don't think
We do, and we use them.
I think there has to be a certain amount of, let's not go about flogging a dead horse, there has to, we can put our stall out there, but if nobody comes to shop, there's no point keep opening the store, is there?
Well, no, I understand the point, and there's a limit to how much interest people will show. But I think the idea of using the pavilion for open meetings would be fabulous. It would be great.
The idea was that we would have a letterbox there for any, comments and parishioners could, and maybe, well, we haven't talked to Joe yet, but maybe, the clerk.
It's not an agreed item.
So there's lots of.
We need to get the planning through first, and then the parish council can discuss what the working party has, the ideas we've come up with.
Okay. I think that it is hard in this village because we are a fairly small village. Lots of busy people, and if it's a conversation, Food Week had the same problem trying to get support and feedback from people. So we have an AGM and 2 people come to that. So it's so I think it is difficult. You can't really make these meetings any different because we can't make them any more exciting because we are bound by our rules, aren't we?
Oh, indeed, I understand the limits, but...
And also, I think if as a parish councillor, you talk to someone, and it's someone that doesn't like using emails, but they wanted to bring something up, the parish councillor could email Joe and ask it to be put on the agenda. It's not...
But it won't be discussed between parish councillors, between meetings, it will be discussed in
at
this
the meeting.
forum.
But then that means that nothing odd ever happens. Everyone knows what's going on. And the parish councils, and the parishioners.
Absolutely. Okay. Happy with that point for the moment? I'm going to move on. Additionally, no doubt the PC website I know the Parish Council is paying for a new website software. I would like to point out that the Parish Council paid for a website 2006, £103, 2006, £30, 2008, £102, 2007, January, £203, 2009, £100, later in 2009, £122, 2010, £100, 2011, £100, 12 and 13, £100. So paying for a website is not a new thing. It is something that has to happen. To put it on, the last website that or the existing website is a free offering and has proved not to be a particularly bit clunky. So that's why we are taking actions to relaunch, and like most things in life, nothing comes of nothing. Draft minutes for parishioners to read before the next meeting. Again, I would just reiterate that those draft minutes are on the website. They get converted to approved minutes after the meeting, and they are on there ever since we started that. We proposed that back in July 2015. We do put the report in Spectrum, which is fine. To this list, I'd add street reps maybe to deliver urgent flyers on your behalf. Yes, we do have people who are happy to deliver flyers when we need to. And a delegated council in charge of information and publicity. We have a media group that will also have that. In recent years, the important parish meeting was advertised more widely, including by notice of land posting I believe, installed by councillors Barrow and Stott, but I may be wrong. Attendances were often 60. 2016, 6, 2015, 14, 2014, nil, no further such minutes available. Okay, I would just like to challenge that, and I will challenge it because this was put in my face at the annual parish meeting. Since 1983, the maximum attendance at an annual parish meeting was 35 in 2012, when the beacon was discussed. The average attendance over the 33 years is 16 people at annual parish meeting. There is nowhere where it was any other nearer. So, like I say, if we have information passed to us before, we can find out hard facts and ensure comments like this are made. There's a comment in 2014 it was nil. In 2014 the attendance was 15. No councillor has been committed to represent the Parish Council in the HGV committee. I believe that 2 months ago we didn't finish off all the items on Appendix A, which was the subcommittee and working groups, because not every councillor was here. It was deferred to last month. We have sorted out, and Sarah has kindly agreed to be the Parish Council representative in the HGV. So that was a discussion that happened at that meeting. It was deferred because not all councillors were here to be able to contribute. It was discovered afterwards. Any other comments regarding the unit?
Well, to refute it, it's obviously taken a lot of work. It would have been very nice if we hadn't had to do that.
Well, I just want to make sure facts are facts. We get accusations levelled at us at meetings, and I just wanted to put that straight. With fact.
So the website being better.
Let's hope. I would go back to that. We have been placed on the Parish Council. People do trust us at what we're doing to make sure that items are discussed in public, in the open.
Agree.
Moving on. Item 5.3. Request from BT to open routes to lay cables for telephone and internet at properties at the end of Church Lane.
Could they lay them around the rest of the villages at the same time?
No, this is particularly goes, what I couldn't tell from the map, and I don't know whether everybody has had a chance to look and see, is whether or not that actually goes over the Parish Council land or it goes up the side of. Avoiding the Parish Council land. Because HDC would obviously have to grant some sort of easement or waiver over the majority of that part of the land, because that is their access. The way it looks, it doesn't go across those parish council land on that map.
Depends where it goes into the road.
No, because if it comes in front of 14 on what effectively would be their land, don't know. I don't know where Joe's got this one.
I mean, because it doesn't, I'm slightly baffled as to why it's come here.
Well, it's come to us as a request because the parish council own that bit of land,
Yeah, it doesn't seem to go on.
and it doesn't seem to go.
It depends where it goes from where that line starts.
Yes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we do need clarification on where it's going to go, if it does actually go across the parish council.
And if they're going to dig it up, could they put it back with some proper grass and seeds?
And would they like to pay us a waiting for access across our land? So as
There's a proposal here that
Joe asked them exactly where it's going to go at the entrance to that drive. We need to know.
Can they be encouraged to avoid our land? In which case then there's no issues. Because presumably it's not talking about a huge amount, it just seems to be a bit of documentation that could be avoided.
We have to grant them a reason to do it.
That's right.
Obviously some
Costs,
revenue to
If they can avoid it, we can what the previous costs were.
There is an
The
easement, there
information's
is a
got-
way leaf we have, or easement we have, for electrical feeding down to Park Farm, I believe, for which we get £5,000 a year for that.
But to have licences where we spend that sort of money surely is not worth
It's just a way leaf that they pay us.
because we actually get £5.
it's just an automatic tick
Yeah,
to
it comes in,
But is that worth
we don't chase it, they pay it, because of what they do. There was a charge made when they laid a big main through there, and I haven't got the information, but I know what it was. That it was
I think there was a single bill,
yes,
and we
a
did
per
get,
metre.
we did get gas
It was a
wages,
price per
and
metre.
the gas could send us wages.
No, it's just the one,
I think,
£5.
but we've had other ones go through.
Yes, no, when the gas
Coming in
main
sort of-
was laid,
Yes,
there was a payment made per metre of excavation.
but I think they also, we've had a bit of monies coming in that kind of surprise us.
Okay.
So if we keep a record of all these things and they, I mean, it's fine to do because there are various other things where we are due monies every year,
Yeah.
but as councils change,
Yes.
things go off.
things get
Yes.
forgotten.
So I'm going to
this is
suggest
the
that
foundation.
we go back to them and ask them exactly where that is going to start with regards to our land. And we've got an easement which will certainly go around. And if it needs to come back, we'll stick it back either on the agenda or at the special meeting that we're going to hold if they want to get on with it quicker.
I've got a standard fee. No,
No, that will have to be discussed and decided. I'm sorry, but I don't have any more information than you have. I don't know.
So
Any other
seconding
Any more?
Peter's proposing.
Propose
Well, then it's in a vague sort of way.
that we're going to
Joe's got
We're
to
go-
contact
Joe
them
will
for
contact,
clarification.
clarify,
Yeah.
and if needs be, we'll stick it to the easements group and bring it
Yeah.
back to either next month's meeting or 2 months' time, or we'll put it through the easements group for discussion in the meantime. Okay?
But I'll second it.
Yeah, well done with you. All those in favour? Yeah, so we can have a vote. You haven't been able to vote for a little while, have you?
Big evening.
Tree safety, right, okay, so there's a tree safety seminar being run by Huntingdon District Council, and I think that it would be useful if parish councillors attended this meeting. Councillors Stock and Dunk, I see on the agenda, have said that they would like to attend the training. It's £52 per person, it's within our training budget. I propose that we agree the costs for Ian and Kieran to attend this training.
You get some sort of certificate, which I think could be useful for insurance purposes.
This is me about safety in dealing with
Yes.
sort of bits off.
And tree
Can I
management.
send my husband?
But it's not, it isn't to do with knocking trees down, it's looking for trees and the trouble.
I think
Who knows? That's what
I was asking.
the training's about.
the main thrust is being able to be more informed about the state of trees.
Which is very relevant.
Disease and
Good when we have a number of trees.
Yeah.
So I still propose that we approve £52 per person for Ian and Kieran to attend this training. Sharon's training. All those in favour? And thank you for offering to do that, because it will be a benefit, especially on your tree survey.
Yeah.
Will you be available for private hire? With insurance.
Fees payable too. Item 5.5 is to discuss email received from Fenstanton Youth Football Club to advise they no longer require use of the green for matches or training this year. So we had an email saying the changes within the club resulted in only having to hold one team, and that they've been able to use the Fenstanton and Hilton Primary School site, something they've been trying to arrange for several years. They will not require use of the green for the coming season. However, we're very keen to maintain our relationship with the Parish Council, that we can apply to use the green in subsequent seasons. It's a wonderful place for the children to play. I'd be very grateful if you could update the Parish Council at the next meeting and let me know their thoughts.
Yeah, I think we ought to try and encourage them back, really, and find out what the problem is and see if there is a problem. Maybe it's just numbers or whatever. But
the good news is, following what from the information Ian gave us earlier in the meeting, there'll be an influx of younger people to Fenstanton who will want to join the football club.
I wonder if it would be a good idea
football as well.
if somebody from the Pavilion Group, happy to go maybe with you, to speak to everyone and just see whether we can come up with some kind of.
Because I was going to approach her for a letter.
Exactly. She might want to do that anyway, even if there isn't.
She probably would,
Yeah,
because
just in principle, because if they're intending to come back the next year.
yeah, they'll probably want to use it in the future.
See, when we first started the Pavilion thing, the Dean was in charge and she was very supportive of it, but I don't know whether Yvonne's fully up to speed with the sort of things, conversations we've been having.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be a really good thing to do.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I would be very happy with that.
Yeah.
So you can, that reply to that Yvonne is looking for, that she wants to Cooper. So where she says she'd like to maintain our relationship with the Parish Council, we'll ask you to chat and reassure her that the Parish Council would like the team to come back, providing they're part of the neutral. And
they've been very good.
or strategic parking on the bank, yeah. So, is everybody happy with that?
Did we discuss monies or whether they have a fire out
Because I've seen they have paid something.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so. So I'll propose that the Pavilion will discuss that on behalf of the Parish Council. Thank you. And seconding that, all those in favour? Thank you very much. Right. Item 6, consider and decide upon matters relating to finance and assessment. 6.1 is to authorise payment of any bills, and you will have got a new one just to put in those. Oh no, that's off the minutes. Sorry. No, that's what I mean. I have got a list because I tried to make sure I had the latest list of things. I think it's just here. There we go. Because it includes double payments for July and August. So we have got JSC services £660 in June and July. Rodney Macon cricket pitch mowing £135 for June and June, and to allow an advance payment for July times 3 cuts, as we won't be meeting. Removal of the fallen tree and branch in the ware. Bargain. Cemetery, £40,000.
Well, John's, a lot of that time is John's directed hours,
Yes.
and John has also made up some of the difference with his directed hours to give them to Duncan, if you like.
Oh, excellent.
So,
Thank you.
because we only had 40 pound agreed, so.
K&M lighting, which is street light maintenance, 1st of April to the 30th of June, £148.42. 82 pence less than £5 overpayment. We discovered when we were doing the audit that there was £5 overpaid last year, so that's pulled that back. WH Electrical Service, £187.62 for the electrical works at the pavilion. Thank you very much, Graham, for sorting that out. Floodlights at Parish Church, we get this bill in. You'll see it's up to the 31st of December. It is £69, which is about what it's been in the last few years. Sorry, I just need to make a note of something. Which is the other business. Whilst I remember. Cambridge water charges £15.21. HDC for the Ian and Karen to go on a tree safety seminar, total £104. Clerk's salary for June and July, £539.07 a month. Clerk's expenditure postage at £3.06. And it's cricket club you to the contribution to you. Do you know, I thought on the first list I had there is the football club, but not to worry. If it's
£24 is very good considering how much they use it.
Yeah. So I'm going to propose that we pay those items and accept that money. Sharon, Sarah's seconding it. All those in favour? Thank you very much. We don't want councillors' items, information only. Right. Great. Sharon. Graham?
No, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll come to that later. Kieran?
No.
Karen? No. I've got two. The person who doesn't like this spot has 2, 3, 4 actually. Firstly, thanks to Willie for taking minutes tonight.
Oh, yes.
And stepping
Yeah.
up to the
Yeah.
Right. Secondly, I'm going to thank Graham for a little bit of work he did when there was a burst water main down by Reeves Ditch. I was walking through the village that evening and I came across Graham, unprompted, unrequested, digging a little trench out into Reeves Ditch from the road to try and drain the water away.
Oh, what a
Thank you very much. In going through things, the third thing I have, which is something that we need to go on the agenda for next time, is in 2012, the Parish Council entered into a maintenance contract with English Heritage for the maze. That expires later this month. I would like the group to look at that contract and see if it can be renewed. That was a 5-year contract for which we had £2,370. Could I give you that? And if we could look at that and bring it back next year, in 2 months' time. And the other one that I have notification of is that we have been approached by the Parish Church and need to start talking to them about the graveyard.
Yes.
It will be full in 10 years. This is no discussion, I'm just informing. It will be possibly full in 10 years' time, at which point, if it became full, the maintenance and upkeep of the graveyard would revert to the Parish Council. At the moment, we do actually cut the grass within the churchyard, but it would mean that at that stage we would become responsible for maintenance of the wall, as well as maybe the footpath through it, the trees, whatever. It would become passed over because it becomes a closed graveyard. I'm proposing that we will bring that to the agenda next month. I may do some information gathering with Reverend Busk to see what opportunities there may be for deferring the graveyard. And it's no discussion, that's where we are. That's what we will do. Sorry? And at 9:11, 9:12, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.